Good afternoon and thanks for clicking on to the Thursday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. As always, before we get into the video, hit that like button and subscribe. It's always greatly appreciated. Looking at a couple of interesting things today's video. Looking first and foremost, this is a tweet here by the World Climate Service indicating that July's NAO index was quite strongly positive, but they go on to say, but you wouldn't know it from the European climate anomalies. Cool, wet in the northwest, hot, dry in the southeast is nearly opposite to the typical positive NAO summer pattern, which I thought was quite noteworthy to point out. Looking at the 2-meter temperature anomalies here for the month of July, you can see the cool anomaly over the UK, almost bang slap over the UK and Ireland. The majority of the rest of Europe has been warmer, if not very warm, compared to average. Precipitation-wise, you can see where it's been wet versus cool. Also, the La Niña looks as if it's becoming a little bit stronger, and that has been indeed highlighted here on Mark Vogan Weather on YouTube for quite some time. Here's a tweet here by Ethan showing that La Niña is beginning to ramp up with easterly wind anomalies strengthening and expanding eastwards over the equatorial Pacific through the next several weeks. So you can see the blues representing strong easterly trade winds. Those are going to propagate from the West Pacific towards South America over the next several months, and therefore we should start to increase this cool anomaly over the central and eastern portion of the Pacific Basin. Now, in the coming weeks to come, we're going to look at this in a little bit more detail with regards to the the mid and latter half of autumn, and obviously the upcoming winter season as well. We're going to be speaking about that in quite a bit of detail in the coming weeks to come. So all the more reason, if you're a winter weather lover like myself and many of you here on the channel, you'll want to subscribe, because we're going to start to look at this in quite a bit more detail coming up. So also the CFSV2, interesting times to come with regards to the upper air pattern. We've got Ernesto, going to be keeping an eye on this. It's likely to become a major hurricane over the West Atlantic, impacting Bermuda, impacting eastern Canada, and eventually later next week, it's likely to have either direct or indirect influence on our weather here in Western Europe. If you look at the CFSV2 weeklies for the upcoming 7 days, this is the 500 millibar anomaly pattern, and we've got a classic, if not textbook, strong positive North Atlantic oscillation with a big strong ridge of high pressure between the Azores and Spain and Portugal, and a very deep negative up towards Iceland. That is about as strong and as classic of a positive NAO as you're going to see anytime. Notice the change as we go into week 2. This is a period between the 21st and the 20th of August. Notice here that the ridge weakens somewhat and shifts west over the Atlantic. That is likely, and this was alluded to in yesterday's video, by the way, on the European Outlook, that with Ernesto rounding the top of the northern side of the high over the mid-Atlantic, we're likely to start to see the heights come down over the eastern side of the Atlantic and rise over the west in the wake of Ernesto coming around the top of the high, clipping Canada, moving towards northwestern Europe. We're likely to start to see a deepening of the trough between Iceland and the UK. So that's something we need to watch later next week. And then in the following week, heights rise once again, stepping out of August and into the first of the 3 meteorological autumn months. So we've got some interesting times to come. Real quick, this is a short and sweet video today, I'm afraid. This is the upcoming 7 days on looking at Europe specifically, looking at precipitation. You can see that it has got a wet signal, especially the further north you go over the UK and Ireland. No surprise there. In the week 2, you can see here a wet signal, especially across central and northern areas, slightly drier across the southeast and the continent. So generally a wet northern Europe, drier central and southern Europe. And then the following week, as the model sees the heights rise, it dries things out. Looking at precipitation anomaly here for the upcoming 7 days, it's got largely below average temperatures, which is quite interesting to see. In the week 2 here, with the exceptions of the southeast corner, again below average. Then you see similar idea, but less of a cold signal into the period between the August 28th and September 4th. Like I say, very short-lived video today, but like, share, and subscribe. We've got plenty of interesting things coming up this upcoming weekend, so stay tuned. Bye for now.